Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. It is August 29th, 2021. It's a Sunday, and welcome to The Gutters, my audio journal. And today's episode is my summer vacation. So how was your summer vacation? Or I should say, how was your summer? We decided to take a little vacation with the family in July. And so we did that, and we were able to go visit my daughter and our grandkids for a very brief moment in July, and I'll talk about that. And then we actually had an opportunity, my wife and I, to go down for a couple weeks in August to visit with my daughter and spend time with our grandkids. And so that's pretty much what we did this summer. Along the way, we have watched a bunch of movies and some TV, and I've listened to some podcasts, or I have some news to share about some podcasts, I guess, as well. So I will get to that later in the episode. So we decided this year, since we didn't do anything last year, to go, not really anyway, not anything that we would consider a real vacation. And since things at that time relating to COVID seemed to be getting better, people were getting vaccinated, the numbers of cases were dropping, so we decided that we would go ahead and go to the Oregon coast, and we would spend about a week there, and we rented we got an Airbnb. I guess rented is right. That's the proper term. We rented an Airbnb at the recommendation of our daughter, who stayed at, that sounded weird, who stayed at this particular Airbnb previously when she went, I think the previous year. So we did that, and we drove out to, our destination was Lincoln City, Oregon, and which is a place that we've always driven through as we would, go to the coast. Sometimes we would go when we would drive over from where we live. That took us over through Portland, and then we would drive over to the coast. And usually that we would get us around Seaside in the northern-ish part of Oregon, and then we just drive down the coast. Normally we stay in Newport, Oregon. But based on my daughter's recommendation and the fact that we just wanted to try something new, do some new things this time, we decided to go ahead and stay in Lincoln City, which is a nice little place. It's got a nice beach access, and our Airbnb was actually not very far from like one of the major beach access points. And I might be jumping ahead here. Yes, I am. Because something else that our daughter told us about was that they discovered that there is an In-N-Out burger in a little town about an hour and 15 minutes away from Lincoln City as you're driving, as I said, from Portland. You kind of have to go south and then west to get to Lincoln City from that direction. Or from that route. But anyway, in Kaiser, Oregon, there is an In-N-Out burger, which is really weird to me because In-N-Out, I associate it with being in bigger cities, because the first time that I encountered In-N-Out and enjoyed In-N-Out, and maybe I should have prefaced that, I love In-N-Out. I love their burgers and their shakes, for that matter. Their fries, not so much, but I love their burgers. Nobody does burgers like In-N-Out that I've experienced. Well, there is this one little place in Spokane, Washington, that has the same kind of vibe in terms of the flavor and deliciousness of a hamburger. And God, even though it's not even 8 o'clock in the morning as I'm recording this, I'm already thinking about a delicious, greasy cheeseburger. Anyway, so like I said, we decided to hit In-N-Out on the way to the coast, and so we kind of timed it so that we would have lunch there. Although it turned out to be a bit of a late lunch, but that was fine. And you should have seen the line; it was incredible. They actually had 3 or 4 lanes in the parking lot that you had to get into. I think it was 3, and then And then you had to merge that they would take turns merging the lanes into the actual drive-through lane. There was just so many people, which is not unusual because the previous time that I ate at an In-N-Out was in Salt Lake City. And it was kind of the same thing. It was bonkers. That was a few years ago, before all this pandemic crap. But anyway, so we did that, and it was delicious. It was akin to a religious experience, I have to say. Okay, not really, but really close. Anyway, so we did that, and then that's when we hit the road again and ended up in Lincoln City, like I said, about 75 minutes later. So we get to our Airbnb. It is, I'm going to say, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a cute little place. A lot of these little rentals that you can get near the beach, they're not always in the best condition. It's the coast and the salt water and the weather. It's just it's a weathered house, but it's cute. We thought it would be a nice little place for us to stay. We get everything unpacked, and that takes a little bit of time. There's a big glass door that opens out to the back side of the house, and there's a little grass area. I think there's a barbecue there. Anyway, just looking straight out, you can see the ocean, which is exactly the tonic that my soul needed at that time, was just to be at the ocean, and just relax. We didn't really have a whole lot of things planned while we were there. It was just, we planned on, just kind of hanging out on the beach and doing a few things, but mostly just kind of relaxing. We brought board games and I brought reading material because that's how I roll. I always bring comics, in printed form, with me. And also I downloaded a bunch of stuff onto my iPad so I could read in the evenings, if I wanted to. FYI, didn't get to read any comics. Such is the case. Anyway, so we get there and, I go outside and I just kind of stand there with my eyes closed, facing the ocean and listening to the wind and the waves and the birds, but just kind of just being in the moment. And, it was wonderful. Anyway, then, go back inside. Like I said, we got everything unpacked, including the food that we brought, because we planned on eating in, and which is one reason why we rented an Airbnb, so we had a kitchen, and so that way we weren't going out a lot. We were minimizing our contact with people, so we were even though, like I said, things seem to be improving at that point. That when we planned this, obviously that has changed. But we still wanted to play it safe, right? Or be as safe as possible, while still, not sequestering ourselves in our homes as we have been for the last year and a half or so. But anyway, so we get that all done, and then we're sitting on the couch, and we're discussing, okay, where we, because it's late, we don't want to cook. Was it late? I guess it was early evening, but we were tired from driving and whatnot. So we were just going to go grab something real quick, through a drive-through. And, we were sitting there on the couch, like I said, and all of a sudden it appears, and it is running towards me. I have to say, perhaps even leaping towards me. And, I am man enough to admit that I jumped up because I was, it kind of spooked me. A mouse came out of the kitchen and made a beeline right in between my legs as I was sitting there on the couch. And everybody's freaking out. It was the funniest damn thing. I was quite amused about it, but of course the girls were like, no, we are not doing this. So we tried to get the mouse outside, because the couch is, 4 feet away from that glass door that I mentioned. And so we tried to, I found the broom and I tried to shoo the mouse out the door, and he just ran back into the kitchen. And then later he came back out, and then he jumped on the couch. Anyway, somehow it got behind the cushions or in between the cushions. I don't remember exactly now, but we were really concerned that it was going to be like in the bedroom with us and stuff like that. But not to mention the food. Get into our food, but I was unsuccessful at getting the mouse out of the house. So we decide that we are going to go try and well, first of all, I look under the kitchen sink to see if do they have mouse traps of any kind? And I find some actually. But they were covered in spider webs, and there was a spider in the box anyway. So obviously they have not used it in a while. So we decided to go to a local store and find a mouse trap, and try and catch that thing. In the meantime, like I said, the girls are not having it. My wife and Maddie and Gabby just are not liking having an unexpected guest in the house with us. So my wife is contacting the Airbnb host, and they have a brief conversation through the messaging system on the Airbnb app. And the Airbnb host was very apologetic. She said that the previous occupants must have left the door open, and because mice they're just around, right? So it got in and couldn't get back out. I mean, hell, it could have been us for all that matter, because we did leave the door open for a brief few minutes while we were having our moments outside with the elements. Anyway, long story short, my wife has decided I am not staying in that house. So we start calling around. My daughter even gets involved to help us find a place, and we ended up not being able to spend the rest of our vacation in another Airbnb, another rental like that. We ended up spending the week at a hotel, which was not my favorite thing. Certainly not my first choice. But we kept to our room. We minimized how many times the staff would come in and clean. It's like only a few times really, which is weird because I like things to be clean, but given the times we're in, no people, stay away from people. So it was probably maybe just a little more exposure, unfortunately, but we needed a place to stay, and my family was not staying in that Airbnb, and we couldn't find any others. I think maybe did I say that? But there were not that many places. In fact, we only found two hotels that could accommodate us for the week, and so our choices were limited. It was either that or go back home, and we weren't ready to do that just yet. So we find a place, pack up all of our stuff, and go back to the hotel, or go to the hotel and unpack all of our stuff there. And I can't remember if that's when we had dinner or what. But anyway, it was quite the first day at the coast, or first evening, I guess. But anyway, so that was over with. As far as the Airbnb goes, the host offered to refund us, and we had to go through that process with her and with the app, with Airbnb itself. And so we ended up getting the money that we had spent on the Airbnb back, which of course we then used to pay a good portion of the hotel cost. So, not a great start to our vacation, but the next day was very good. We spent a good chunk of the morning on the beach in Lincoln City, walked quite a bit. There was a point there where, afterwards, of course, we were done. I was spent. I couldn't walk anymore. So it was quite a walk, but it was fun because, as we headed down the beach, we were looking at shells and rocks and stuff, because there were some really cool rocks further down. Anyway, so we were walking along. My wife decided that she needed to go back and rest and use the restroom. So the girls and I continued on. And we were just looking for, interesting things. And Madison and I especially were, looking, just basically walking on the beach with our heads down all the time, looking for interesting shells or rocks, like I said. We ended up, there's this rock formation of this bit of earth and rock that kind of juts out from the beach. And so we walked down to that, and that was kind of neat to see, to climb on, and just, it was just being out again, being outside in that coastal breeze, and just listening to the sound of the waves and the wind, and avoiding people. And so it was just a lot of fun. And then we just kind of drove from there. We kind of drove around looking at all these wonderful coastal homes and seeing everything that was for sale, and wondering how much would it actually be to or cost us to own a house out here. And so we're actually looking at that a little bit. Of course, we can't afford it because oh my god, the housing prices on the Oregon coast, at least in that area, were just astronomical. Beautiful houses, so I can see why. But yeah, we ended up driving around Lincoln City a little bit in the residential area, and just marveling at some of the houses out there. It's just beautiful stuff. One of these days, maybe. While we were there, on not really, I was going to say a whim. It wasn't really a whim, because pretty much every time I go to a new city or new area, I always get on Google and look up, are there any comic book shops around here? And surprise, surprise, I found a bookstore with comics. Actually, the first place I looked, that I saw, we did go to, but it was more of more like a Hot Topic combined with comic books. So it wasn't quite what I was looking for. They had a smattering of, big two trades and maybe some image books, a shelf with image books. And that was pretty much it. But the surprise and wonderful find was Robert's Bookshop in Lincoln City. And I tweeted about this at the time. So, it said that they had comics. We drive up, and it's this small building, and you walk up to the front door, and you see these older paperback books just outside, right? So there's their sale books, right, to try to get rid of those. And I immediately love it. And then you walk inside, and it is wall to wall, very little room to walk through the corridors. You actually have to get out of the way for someone to pass. That's how much space is taken up by these bookshelves and all these books everywhere. It's beautiful. And then, so we're just kind of walking around. I'm looking for the comics, and I find them near the front of the store. And there's this, maybe about 4 or 5 feet from the floor is this bookshelf full of these comics. And there's the older issues. Stuff from the 90s mostly. I found a few things from the 80s. Now that I'm sitting here recording, I realize I don't remember what those were. I remember that I found like that 2-issue miniseries, the Lois Lane miniseries. Oh man, this is horrible. I can't remember what they were. Anyway, I found a few things, and it was wonderful. I spent so much time there that first day. So I go through that entire, like I said, 4 or 5 foot tall. The shelves were probably 3-4 feet wide of all these comics. And there's another spot where they had things in these metal boxes. I guess those were the key issues. A little pricier than what I wanted, but I didn't find anything that I was looking for anyway. And then further back in the store, where there was a bunch of bookshelves, at least 3 or 4 bookshelves, going, higher than me. They were maybe not 10 foot tall, 8 foot tall. Yeah. 8 foot tall bookshelves that were filled with trade collections and other things that are related. We found a Marvel encyclopedia, for example, some artist editions. I forget which ones now, just a few of those. But anyway, I didn't have the time I wanted to spend looking at all those trades, not to mention all the books, right? I mean, books everywhere. So we left, because it was getting late. But I really wanted to go back. And so we did eventually, a few days later after we did some of our other things that we had planned. And so, when I went back, I was able to look at all those trades. I got a few of those. Again, I can't remember what I got. It was a few weeks back, guys. But because it's right here in front of me, I did also find this DC Heroes, the role-playing game, the Atlas of the DC Universe by Paul Kupperberg. And so that was a wonderful find. I never really played the DC Heroes role-playing game, but the reference materials in here I just adored. And I didn't have this atlas, and it's got all these maps and information about the locations in the DC universe, and not just on Earth, but throughout space and time. And so I just love this kind of stuff. So I was I gladly paid the $15 for this thing. So, yeah. And then also, one of the things I found in one of the rooms was all of these prints of book covers. Like they did these, I don't know, poster size or even larger prints, of these wonderful book covers. And I spent a good, 10, 15 minutes just walking around that area of the store, looking up at, on the walls at all of these, wonderful prints. So I've never seen a bookstore do that. So that was very unique. Oh, and then, I found, actually the first day that I went, when I was, buying the comics that I found, I was wearing my Vandal hat or Vandal shirt. I forget which one. Anyway, I was wearing Vandal gear. Idaho Vandals. Go Vandals. And the guy behind the counter commented about it. And turns out he was from Clarkston, Washington, originally. So, small world. Anyway, I forget his name now, but I think he graduated Clarkston like 2, maybe 3 years after I graduated from Lewiston. So yeah, we had that little connection. So anyway, I was hoping he was going to be there the second day that I came in, but he was not. It was some other wonderful person who helped me find some things, or pointed me in the direction of where I could find some things. I was looking for a few books, but didn't find what I was looking for. So yeah, that was probably one of the biggest finds of Lincoln City. And like I said, we have been to the coast over the years so many times, and driven through Lincoln City. How could I have missed this place? It's amazing. The finds, the wonderful surprises that you get if you just stop and look around and explore a little bit. So that was kind of our modus operandi, I guess, during this vacation was, stop and look and seek out. So we're going to try and do that more, I guess. Anyway, so I forget when, but at some point during the vacation, we drove down to Florence, I believe, Oregon. And there's a little place where you can ride a dune buggy on the sand dunes in that area. And we had done this before, where we had several years ago, and it was a wonderful little trip. Oh yeah, that was probably the last vacation that our daughter Brittany went on with us before she got married, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, Madison was really young, and she had to sit in the front of. This is years and years ago. She had to sit in the front, and she was kind of freaked out about it and screaming. And forgive me, I'm an awful human being. I thought it was funny as hell. Anyway, so it's been kind of a joke in the family, the way that she reacted. Well, not a joke. We give her a bad time about it. But so I was mildly concerned. She's 15 now, but she didn't scream out during the drive. It was fun. It was okay. I ended up getting like a big clump of sand right in my ear, which was not fun. But it was the dune driving was fine. But afterwards, we were able to play. They have a little mini golf and go-kart thing there, and we went early. So there wasn't that many people, so we were able to keep our distance, thankfully. But that was probably the better experience over the dune buggy driving, or driving on the dunes, I should say. That mini golf, I love mini golf. So we had a good time playing that, and then the girls enjoyed the go-karts. The go-karts are okay. I don't. The little go-karts that you get at the places like that, they're just not that great of an experience for me. But it was the first time that Madison has had an opportunity to drive a little go-kart. Every other time that we've done go-karts in the recent past, she was too small to drive herself. And so as we were walking towards the go-karts to get in them, she's like, I've never done this before. What do I do? So I had to give her a real quick lesson on gas, brake, steer. So that was a lot of fun. And then we had decided, kind of over my objection, because I didn't want to drive that long or take that long of a drive. But we went back to In-N-Out. We drove from Florence to Kaiser, which was a little more than 2 hours. So I think about 2 hours and 15 minutes to drive to Kaiser to get, I guess it was, again, a late lunch or an early dinner. I forget now. Probably an early dinner. And then it was another a 75-minute drive back to Lincoln City after we did that. Guys, totally worth it. Totally worth it. I got a triple cheeseburger, a strawberry shake, and all I can think about now is having that. Food wise, a couple wonderful experiences there too. Again, I wish I'd known about these, but again, from the recommendation from my daughter, there's a couple coffee places in the Lincoln City area that she recommended. There was one, I think it was called Lighthouse Coffee. It was okay. They had a marshmallow mocha that was all right. Got that a few times, but really, if you are driving through Lincoln City, heading south, going down the Oregon coast, and you need a coffee, I highly recommend stopping in at Pacific. I think it was called Pacific Coffee. They had the best coffee. So that was really good. And oh my God, I could still kind of taste it. Very good. Better than Starbucks. Yes, for sure. And then finally, as far as the Oregon coast goes, I'll just pimp Jay's Fish and Chips. So that was one of the places I wanted to try. I love fish and chips. And they have interesting hours there. And so we almost missed our opportunity. But thankfully, we did not. And also, because of the COVID restrictions, you had to order it, and then they would, you come to pick it up and you sit in the parking lot, and then they come out of the restaurant and call your name loudly, and then you had to go pay for it and pick it up, which is what we did. But really good fish, but the chips, I have to say, they were like the chips I had when Kitter and I went to Scotland, which was the best chips I've ever had. And so these guys were really close. So if you want something that is sort of like fish and chips in Scotland, Jay's Fish and Chips in Lincoln City is pretty damn close. So there you go. So anyway, so when we were done with that, we get in the car and we then drive I don't know how many hours, 10 hours, something like that. No, it was between 8 and 10. I forget how long it was, but we drove from the Oregon coast through Oregon into Idaho to be able to go to our granddaughter Hadley's 4th birthday party. And we got to spend basically a day there. So I think we got there on a Friday night. Yeah, we left the coast on Friday and then got into the Boise area that evening. And the next day was the birthday party. And so we got to spend time there. They had rented a bouncy house and, we did the usual, the cake and presents and stuff, but we were able to, because Hadley was just over the moon about the bouncy house. And so she was like, Grandma, come play with me in the bouncy house. Grandpa, come play with me in the bouncy house. It was beautiful. I think in the last, the Gutters episode, I talked about the last time that I spent, maybe it wasn't the last one. Anyway, in a previous Gutters episode, I had talked about, being able to spend time back in March, with my daughter and her family and how much I enjoyed that. Well, it wasn't quite that experience because it was only one day, but it was still a joy. She's 4 years old. She's cute as a button. She is engaged with everyone around her and loves to tell stories. And she wants to spend time with us. She wants us to play with her. And I love that so much. And so we had a good time with that, although it was really hot, really, really hot. I think that was during the time when we're having these heat waves here in the Northwest area. So yeah, I was basically melting. We go from having to wear jackets all the time outside to, oh my God, I need to be out of the outside. I need to go back inside because it's too freaking hot. But we stayed out there. We everybody was distanced, wearing masks when we were near anybody. So, because my daughter is taking this very seriously because she has a 4-year-old and she also has now an eighth month old. Is that right? August, yeah. Hudson is 8 months now. So yeah, we did that. We were there. My son-in-law's parents were there. They had a couple friends over as well. And so, we visited with them and basically just played with Hadley, did the ice cream cake and ice cream. Anyway, all that stuff. And then my daughter had invited us to come back. After the party was over, everybody left, they cleaned up, and then we were able to come back later and visit with them. And so we spent that evening with them. So, and that was really great. We ordered dinner, and then the kids, the girls, were able to get into the pool. They have this. My daughter and her husband, they do these interesting things. They took a stock tank. And if you're not familiar with that, that's just a big metal container that I shouldn't say most, farmers use to fill with water for their stock. And so they had found this information online and on YouTube videos to convert a stock tank into a small pool. And they did. And Hadley has, and my daughter, well, I guess all of them. I don't know why I just said that, but they have been, during the course of the summer, they have been spending time in that pool. It's not very big. It's an 8-foot wide stock tank, and it's only 2.5 feet tall, something like that. Anyway, not very big, but enough to get in there and cool off from the heat. But you get too many people in there, and there's not much you could do except for sit there. So, like I said, the girls got in and were able to play with Hadley a little bit. So that was nice. We got to have a nice little visit with them, and then the next day we drove home. So that was in July. So I can't remember. I think I've talked about this before. Madison and Gabby There are granddaughters from our other daughter, and they live with us most of the year. But in the summer, in June and August, for the most part, they go live at their other house. And so we have to arrange our vacations with them when they're with us in July. So that was all in July that we did the Oregon Coast thing and Hadley's birthday party. Then fast forward a little bit of time into August, and Brittany had invited us to come spend a week in August, like I said, with them and have a little staycation with them and be able to spend time with the kids. Because, like I said, in March, I did that. I spent a couple weeks there with them. And then previous to that, my wife during November, December, spent 3 weeks down there. So we had to do that individually at that time because of the girls. Like I said, they go to their other home in June and August, but also every other weekend during the year. So one of us had to be here during those times to do that. So my wife and I had not been able to go down and visit with our daughter's family together, but my daughter had invited us to do that. So we both got permission, and we were able to work from home for 2 weeks so that we could quarantine. So it was just she and I in the house for 2 weeks working. And it was great, guys. I have to say, in some ways, other ways not, because the chair that I'm sitting in right now is not very comfortable if I'm sitting in it for too long. I've discovered. So if I'm sitting in it for 8 hours or so as I'm working, it's just not very good. Plus, trying to the kind of work I do, I have two, I think they're 24-inch monitors at my desk at work, and trying to do that on a little, I don't know what it is, 15, 17-inch wide laptop screen. Not the best working conditions, but whatever, I'll take it. Plus, I didn't have to wear a tie. I didn't have to wear a tie for 3 glorious weeks. It was wonderful. I'm looking forward to when I don't have to do that anymore when I retire. Hopefully soonish. We shall see. Anyway, so we spent 2 weeks working from home, quarantining, and then we were able to spend time down at my daughter's, and that was the best time ever. Just, I have talked about this before, about the joy of being around my grandkids. I am not a good enough wordsmith to adequately express the joy and the love I feel when I'm with those kids and spending time with my daughter. It was great. Like I said, Hadley is a joy. She's curious and funny and imaginative, and she wants to play all the time. It was a lot of fun. We spent lots of time bouncing a ball back and forth in the playroom, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun. She ended up making up these, there was one of them. Was it jelly? Yeah. So she ended up making this imaginary play friend called Jelly. And I don't know why she did that. And I'm like, well, where's peanut butter? And then the other times we were bouncing the ball around, she wanted to make sure that we bounced the ball to peanut butter and jelly. And so we were like having this 4-person ball session with these imaginary folks. So it was lots of things like that, lots of fun. We ended up watching a bunch of things, watched so much Disney Plus programming. Oh boy, for young kids, not my favorite stuff, but it was fine because she'll be watching these shows and suddenly she'll turn to you and start talking to you about the stuff that's on there, and it's just, I love it. I love it. Anyway, so we spent several days at their house just hanging out, and we also were able to me and Kitra were able to get in the stock pool with Hadley one day. It was really hot that day. So we were able to, I don't know, we spent maybe a good 2 hours out there with her, just playing around and playing games. We try to get her to because our daughter's trying to get Hadley to do this too. Go underwater and grab the rings, right? Hadley doesn't like putting her face under the water. So we were trying to help out with that. And she did that a few times, and then she wanted us to do it. And so it was like a game suddenly. So, that's what I mean. That's one of the things like I'm talking about is, she just, young kids like that, they just want to play. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of helps rejuvenate my soul. So between the Oregon coast, despite the mouse, and spending time with her, and Hudson and my daughter was just, it was great. So, and speaking of Hudson, I hadn't seen him other than on FaceTime. I hadn't seen him in person, obviously, since March, and he has grown so much, and he's getting such a personality. And so, we got to hang out with him, hold him and feed him, and, interact with him. He's such a happy baby. In fact, they both have been. Hadley was too when she was a baby. Happy kids. We would, for example, I would say good morning to Hudson, and he would just get this big smile on his face. And then he started doing this thing early on when we were there, where he would smile, and then he would kind of bashfully put his head down, which, like I said, is something new that he was doing. But he started doing it with me, but then he started doing it with Kitra as well. And it's just the most adorable thing. Oh my God. I could retire and go spend pretty much all my time with those kids. And hopefully we will get to do that. I talked before about the price of houses on the Oregon coast. Well, let me tell you, the price of housing in the Boise area is, oh my God, ridiculous. So for a house similar to our house where we live, which is just under 2,000 square feet, built in the early 2000s, something like that was built even later, much later, is going to cost us probably around $500,000 to $600,000 if we were to buy something like that. So our plans to retire and move down there to be able to spend more time with our daughter and her family, it's going to cost us a little coin. Yikes. So, we got to work through that and figure out what it is that we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Anyway, so that was our summer vacation. If you're so inclined, I'd love to hear about what you did during the summer, during the pandemic summer. Although that's not really accurate, right? Because we already had one of those. But the second pandemic summer. Oh, God, that's terrible, isn't it? With everything on the Delta variant on the rise, where I live, we got a university, so we got students coming in from all over. And then 8 miles away is another university town in Washington, and students are coming back from there, and the cases are going up all around us. I was reading on the news this weekend about a bunch of guys, white guys, that's always white guys, who have died. They were anti-vaxxers, and they died from COVID. It's just, I don't understand this objection to getting vaccination, to wearing masks when you're around people, secluding yourself. I don't get it. People are dying from this. How can you not see that and go, well, maybe I should do something different? So maybe I should do something that's not just about me. Yeah, I just don't get it. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. How was your summer? How was your summer vacation? What'd you do this summer? I'd love to hear from you about any of this stuff. I've now talked depending on how this edits down, I've now talked for 45 minutes about what I did over the summer, and I still have things to talk about. The usual stuff that I like to talk about on the Gutters episodes. But, if there's something that you'd like to share, please do so. And I'll give you that information now instead of at the end, or maybe I'll do it both. Who knows? I'm making this up as I go. But you can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can also message me on Twitter at longboxreview as well. It's probably the best way to get a hold of me. So let's move on to the next segment. The entertainment that I consumed during this time period. So we watched a few movies with the girls before they went away to their other home in June, and we started off with the New Mutants movie. That was that on HBO Max? I forget now. Anyway, so we watched that. That was actually not bad. Not bad for that kind of a movie. I mean, it's not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's whoever owns the X-Men movie rights. I don't know who did it. Anyway, that was not bad. They turned it in more of a horror movie concept, but it was the whole demon bear thing with a few changes along the way. But it was okay. It was not as bad as some other things I've seen. Kids shows. Anyway, then we watched Aliens. So this goes back to the conversation, or what I talked about in previous episodes, where we're trying to introduce Madison and Gabby to what we consider classic movies, and Aliens is one of them. So we watched Alien, and I think I talked about that last time. But then we were able to watch Aliens, and I think pretty sure that Madison enjoyed this one more because there was more action to it. And I've always enjoyed Aliens. I remember going to see that in the theater, an experience that I have pretty much forgotten what that's like. Not really, but you know how it is. But so, that was fine. We watched that. We also later watched Predator. I think that was more recent that we did that. But anyway, we watched Predator because what I want to get to is watching the Aliens versus Predator movie. And so we had to introduce them to Aliens. We had to introduce them to the original Predator movie. Not going to Predator 2, because that's just, it's okay. So now, hopefully next time I talk to you, we will have watched Aliens versus Predator, and I can talk about that, because that's a new movie to me. I have never seen that one. So, but boy, while Alien, when did that come out? 78, 79. Aliens came out in the early 80s. Predator came out around the same time-ish, I think. Boy, does the Alien movies, at least the first two, they hold up despite the time period in which they were created. Predator, not so great. Just the music, the machismo. It's just, I didn't care for it. The only bit about Predator I liked is when they were actually fighting the Predator. So, and that was, the last 10 minutes of the film. So, directly. Anyway, so we did that. We also watched, let's see here. There's a movie starring Patrick Stewart. It's called Match that we watched in late June. And I highly recommend that movie. I think it was on Hulu, and I think it pretty much went away shortly after that. But if you have a chance to watch Match, I highly recommend it. It's basically, there are three main characters. Oh, it's based on a play by the same name, I think. But it's about this aging actor, theater actor, I believe, who's being interviewed by this couple about his time in his heyday regarding his theater experience. But there's this other thing there's something else going on during this interview that is it's very interesting, and it's very emotional. It's a wonderful dramatic experience, I have to say. And Patrick Stewart, of course, is just a genius at what he does. So go watch that for sure. We watched In the Heights. This is right before the girls, or no, right after the girls came back during July. So we have been looking forward to that for months. The new Lin-Manuel Miranda and Company production. It stars the guy who is also in Hamilton, and I don't remember his name, but Madison really likes him. So he was, oh God, who was he in Hamilton? He's Hamilton's friend who ends up dying after the war ends. He also plays Hamilton's son later in the second half. So that guy, that actor. Anyway, so we watched that. That was, while I still prefer Hamilton in terms of like I said, a Lin-Manuel production. That was such a colorful, multicultural experience that I thought was really cool. Some of the musical numbers were just like catchy as hell. I quite enjoyed it. Like I said, it's not. I still prefer Hamilton if I'm being honest, but that was still good. And then while we were down in the Boise area with my daughter, the Suicide Squad movie had come out before we left, I think, but we hadn't watched it, and we had made plans to watch it while we were down there. So we did. And ooh boy, that was not good. That was not good at all. I mean, there were some, especially early on in the film, there were some scenes that I got, I chuckled. It was kind of interesting to see the interpretations of some of these characters that I know from the comic books that, my family had no idea who they were and what they were about. But I don't know. I almost kind of like the first Suicide Squad movie just a little better. So, and just, they went for the rated R, and I just, call me squeamish. I don't care. All that blood, all the guts. Did they really need to do that? Did they? I don't think so. And not to mention, there are at least 3 of the characters who are basically, well, I guess 4-ish. Basically, they just shoot people, and that's it. That's all they do. They're just shooting people the entire movie. And it's just like, well, that's not what they're all about. So anyway, I didn't like a lot of the jock jokes, the whole thing with Harley Quinn. I don't know. It was kind of a hot mess, and I didn't really care for it. So, but if you did, great. That's fine. If that's your bag, that's great. And then finally, as far as movies, while we were out there, right before we left, a day or two before, no, it was a couple of days before we left, not new. It is new, but that implies that there have been other movies, but that's not the case. Anyway, a Paw Patrol movie came out, debuted, and which was Hadley's was just loving it. That the fact that we were going to watch Paw Patrol, because that's one of her favorite things. If you're not familiar with Paw Patrol, it's about this young kid, Dan. I don't remember. Steve. I don't remember what his name is now. Anyway, so he kind of runs this group of dogs who help out this seaside town, and every dog has his or her specialty. Like one dog drives a helicopter, flies a helicopter. Another one, he's a Dalmatian. It's a fire truck. Another one is a cop. He drives a police car. Anyway, they have their specialties, and they each contribute in their own way. And so they made a movie out of this, and where they go to the big city nearby and help with a crisis. And then there's the nemesis of the show, which was, quite honestly, it looked like they were kind of modeling him after Trump a little bit, which I thought was funny. Kids, of course, wouldn't get that, but anyway, so they have this big thing that they have to solve and remedy and help out with. And so it was cute. It was more it was more fun because I got to watch it with Hadley, and she was just so excited. And we had a movie night and popcorn and M&Ms and all sorts of stuff. And so, my wife had suggested to our daughter that we, pick up some balloons and some decorations to accentuate the experience for Hadley, which we did. And so Hadley still takes these rest breaks, not quite naps. They call it quiet time. So, because if she doesn't have that quiet time in the afternoon, she kind of melts down in the evening sometimes. So anyway, during quiet time, my daughter decorated the house. We got the balloons and everything. And so it was like kind of like this whole magical experience for Hadley, which is just, if you have young kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, so we watched, like I said, we watched Paw Patrol and watched it again the next day. Kids, they like to watch their things over and over and over. Moving on to TV, something that I want to watch over and over and over. Well, maybe this is a great show. If you have not watched The Queen's Gambit, boy, are you missing out. This is a miniseries on, I think it's on Netflix. Yeah, on Netflix. It is so good. The acting, the setting, the costumes, the story. It's so good. It involves this young chess prodigy and her experiences, her learning chess and then starting to compete, and her experiences along the way. The sexism. This is set in the 60s. Girls don't play chess. That kind of reaction, and then of course the jealousy that arrives, and then the respect of peers when they realize, oh, she's good, and she's, in fact, not only is she good, she's better than me, and I can learn from her. So such a good TV miniseries. Like I said, everybody should watch it. It got Madison interested in chess, so we've been playing chess on occasion, which is great because that's actually a game that I really like. I was probably no surprise to some of you, but I was on the chess. I was in the chess club in junior high, which when I told my family that, they were kind of surprised. It's apparently something not something I've talked about a whole lot. But there you go. And then recently we started watching Loki. We're only 2 episodes in, so I like the actor who plays that character. I like that character. Not so sure about the show that we're watching yet, but we have 4 more episodes to go, so we'll see how it ends, or how it ends up, I should say. And then, of course, also along the way, I talked about me watching The Prisoner. Well, I finally finished that, as well as the podcast, Degree Absolute. So that was a fun experience. Like I said before, I have watched The Prisoner before, and I guess because it's been so many years, it's like I was watching it new. Like the memory engrams were like basically gone from the first time. Like I barely can remember anything about the show, which is weird. But watching it now, I feel like if I were to return to The Prisoner in 10 years or 15 years or whatever, I would have a better recollection of it. So it was a weird experience, is what I'm trying to say. But that's a weird show. But the podcast helps to kind of work your way through the weirdness and the oddity of it all. And more importantly, the podcast continues to examine the other works of Patrick McGoohan, which is nice. In fact, we were just watching Braveheart last night, and Patrick McGoohan plays Longshanks in that movie. So I know that the Glenn and Chris on that podcast are going to get to Braveheart at some point. So I can't wait for that. And then Kitcher and I finished Twin Peaks concluding with the Fire Walk With Me movie. And I remember enjoying that movie much more than I actually did watching it the second time. Much like the Twin Peaks series. In fact, the experience watching Twin Peaks with my wife is similar to when I was watching The Prisoner, because I remember really liking Twin Peaks, the series. And watching it again, I was getting irritated, and visibly irritated, as I was sitting there watching some of the stuff play out. When it wasn't dealing with Laura Palmer's murder and the Black Lodge and all that kind of stuff, the mystical, magical elements of the show, I was bored to tears, and just, I was irritated that I had to sit there and watch this crap. And like I said, I think I've said this before, I'm a David Lynch fan, and I cannot believe the stuff that, it's not just him, I know. But since he's the name on it, he gets the blame as well. But anyway, it's not a great experience watching Twin Peaks again. I still really want to watch the sequel that I think is on Showtime. But we're taking a break from Twin Peaks for a little while, and maybe watch some other things. So I think that's about it. We watched TV while we were visiting with Brittany, but it was mostly travel YouTube videos, and she's really into watching, what is it, the Gordon Ramsay show, the not Kitchen Nightmares, Hell's Kitchen. That's the one. So we ended up watched far too many episodes of that, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, speaking of podcasts, since I was just talking about A Degree Absolute, I didn't have a whole lot of time, especially the week or so that we were with Brittany, to listen to podcasts. So I'm way behind. In fact, while I was quarantining and working from home, I was burning through those, because when I work from home, I don't have people interrupting me all the time. I get that at work all the time. So I was able to listen to my podcast as I'm working, and I was getting down. I think I got like even below 25 episodes of the various podcasts I listened to. And now I'm back up to over 35 that I have to listen to. I listen to a lot of podcasts, folks. So on the new front, I don't think I've mentioned this one. Ashley Flowers is a host of a few shows that I've already listened to, and I'm blanking on the names now. But she has this long-running show called Supernatural, and I decided to try that out. I think I did at one point a long time ago, and then for some reason didn't stick with it. Anyway, so there's a bunch of different things that she covers, like alien stories about aliens and alien abductions, or conspiracy theories, mystical topics, haunted topics, things like that. So she mixes it up. I ended up listening to an episode. It was a conspiracy episode called about Valiant Thor, which is about supposedly in 1957 an extraterrestrial named Valiant Thor allegedly landed outside of Washington, D.C., demanding to speak to President Eisenhower. And then for the next 3 years, he lived inside the Pentagon working with top scientists and government officials, but his mission has not been completed. So what is that all about, right? Anyway, so there's this variety of shows that you can listen to, Supernatural with Ashley Flowers. And then, sort of new. No, it is new. I've been thoroughly enjoying my co-host from the Legion Project podcast, Peter Rios. He's at the time of this recording, he has recently been doing these weekly digests where he covers basically 5 topics from the week, from that week that he wanted to talk about. And it's something that he and I had talked about after we recorded a Legion Project podcast, this idea that he had, and I thought was really cool. And then, so he's been doing that. I think he's done 3 or 4 now at this point, and they're just wonderful to listen to, the variety of topics. Of course, he talks a lot about comics and theater and other topics that I really enjoy. Plus, he's also been doing, like he does with me on the Legion Project podcast, he does these conversations over Zoom with various guests, and those have been wonderful. He did one where he and guest Ben talked about the British invasion, focusing on the Black Orchid miniseries by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean and Todd Klein. And that was that was a great conversation. Such, two gentlemen who know their stuff talking about this topic. It was just a delight to listen to. And, it made me want to go back and reread Black Orchid. And then I also have the ongoing series that came out, sometime after the miniseries, which I've not read. And so it makes me want to go do that. And then I started thinking about the earlier appearances of that character. And I wanted to go start getting those issues because I don't have those. I have the first 3 issue appearance of the character in Adventure Comics, but I don't have other appearances. Why do I keep wanting to say appearances? Ugh. I don't have the later appearances of this character. And so I'm looking online for how can I buy these issues? And so maybe you don't want to listen to those episodes if it causes you to buy a bunch more comics. No, that's never a bad thing. Forget I said that. And then, here's the last few things. Got some sad news while I was down in the Boise area. One of my favorite comic book related shows, it's a comic book interview show, has ended. Chris from Creator Talks announced in his final episode that would be the final episode. And, it was a big surprise. Sad to see it go because like I said, that is, I think, the best comic book interview show out there. And, so I was sad to hear Chris announce that, but he'll be back, he said, with a new project, I think this fall. So maybe soon, I hope. And, also ending is, for now, is the DC OCD, part of, that show, because they have gotten to the most recent, well, I shouldn't say most recent, the most recent DC event, because that's what the DC OCD is about, is they look at all of the DC events from Crisis on Infinite Earths, up to the more recent one. But they got to the most recent one that they felt there was enough time between the event and now to, be able to evaluate the impact and, and be able to assess the event itself. So they're taking a break, and they'll come back and do them down the road, but it'll be much more sporadic. But that's a show that I adore. They get guests on, to help talk about that particular event. I would have loved to have done a spot with them if they had wanted me, although I'm not as good as many other guests that they have on there to talk about these things. Anyway, I think that's it. I was just been busy this summer, kind of just living life and trying to enjoy time with the family. So I hope you have had that opportunity as well. Like I said earlier, let me know what you've been up to, and if there's anything that you would like, topics you'd like to suggest for me to jaw about here for over an hour now. And you can do so. Let me know. Send me that email, longboxreview@gmail.com. Or questions you may have, anything at all that you'd like to have me talk about. That'd be great. Get some participation here, if possible. But if not, I'll just continue to tell you about my life, and hopefully you find some joy out of this. Some you get something out of it anyway. It's great for me because I get to kind of purge the stuff that I have experienced. So there you go. All right, I will leave you. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.